Hello everybody, welcome back to Ghostly French Toast, and today we're talking a little bit of Warhammer. I know we had the Necron video lore about the Catan, so I've been slowly getting more and more into Warhammer, both 40k and AOS, Age of Sigmar. And I'm like, I'm more familiar with 40k, and I went through all the factions, and I'm like, let's just look at all the models and just rank them on kind of like aura kind of thing. The best looking models throughout 40k itself, which I think AOS has better looking models, but I think you can't go wrong with 40k. 40k's models are more, I think, iconic. I think that's the best way to put it. Just because the history and relevancy of 40k. But enough dawdling around. Let's dive on, because it's gonna be a little longer video. So basic rules, as always with these kinds of things. No Forge World, so the big old plastic resin kits, because they're not gonna exist much longer. Each faction gets one model, so no grouping of models. So Canoptics, where they have the plasmites. We can't do that, where it has like a little side model where it's like multiple models together. It's one model specifically. No grouping. So enough to around, kind of ultramarine. So Primaris Librarian Phobos armor. Straight up Star Wars pose. You can't tell me that doesn't look like a lightsaber pose. Him using force right there. Dope robes, because even though they're supposed to be camouflage, it's still cool. It's so dope. Like, just look at it. You can't tell me that doesn't look dope as fuck. And yeah, the Force stance where he's like using the mind powers or Jedi mind trick kind of thing. It's just dope. It is a cool concept where you have the normal Space Marine standing on a rock pose, but this is kind of elevates that the rock pose, the tactical rock. Next one, Black Templars, and we're looking at the Emperor's Champion. So I think one of the big things when it comes to going through these are poses, because I think as much as the model can look cool, if it just looks standing there kind of thing, it's gonna look kind of boring. So having some kind of cool pose going with it always adds a lot, and I think that's the big thing about these first two, the He-Man type pose, sword in the air. And it's just aura. Look at the sword, look at the robes, everything's just kind of flowing right there. It's really cool. And just cool lore overall with the Black Templars, where they're kind of like these foresight, or the Emperor's Champion, where it's like, they have these visions, and if they have these visions of like the Emperor, whatever, in the future, in the history of the 40k universe, and more specifically the Imperium, they get like, oh my gosh, you're like the next prophet, and they become an Emperor's Champion, which is cool. So there's multiple Emperor's Champions, so just a little tidbit of lore right there. The Blood Angels, and it's going to be Commander Master Dante, or Chapter Master Dante, sorry. Cool ass axe, because the problem with Blood Angels is there's not many characters to choose from specifically to the chapter itself. And yes, these are like successing chapters, but they're not the main chapters, so it's interesting. It's cool to have that little dynamic. And just drip, you have the gold armor, and I think even like the Sanguinary Guards, the newer models, they don't look as good as Dante. I like Dante's mask a little more than the Sanguinary Guards. It's supposed to represent Sanguinius while he's fighting Horus, all that fun stuff, that whole shebang. And Lionel Johnson. Don't worry about the transition. Don't worry about that. Cool ass pose and base. Where I always love having a little scene on the base, and the bases are always play an important role. Where we have the two servants of them, basically. Let me give you my sword kind of thing, and I like the little bell right there. Aura, straight up aura. Just cool model, and you can't go wrong with the Primarchs. I think there's not really a bad Primarch. I think the worst Primarch is probably Gildan, but that's also because he's probably the first Primarch non-demon Primarch. So, and it comes out at coolest time as well, where you have Vashtor basically taking over, and him going, and Lionel Johnson coming out back from the rock and fighting Ingram. I think it's just a cool time, and it's a cool model with the significance of the lore. But now Space Wolves, Bjorn the Fellhanden. I love custom dreads, and one of the big things I hope in 11th edition, I know it's never going to happen, but I think, and going off just the Horus Heresy game itself, all custom dreads for each faction. I think custom dreads would be great. They add a lot of character, and of course, don't get me wrong, dreads are cool, just regular dreadnoughts. But having custom dreads for each faction, I think that'd be great, a great thing. And the lore with Bjorn the Fellhanden is just awesome. Yeah, he's just dope. He's just a silly, goofy guy, and it's just a cool design. I love the power claw on the quote-unquote Fellhanden, little Gatling gun. It's just cool with the gold trim and everything. It kind of just brings everything together. I love the little wolf head up top. Death Watch, kind of the Corvus Black Stars, so not really much from Death Watch. And I think one of the big things to note, Imperium's not a brick ship. It actually has wings and it seems like it could fly. Best ship design. There, as stated before, there's not much from Death Watch. Like, yes, we did get the new kill team, which is cool and all, but that kind of excludes the model thing. Where it's like it comes in a bunch, and the problem with that kit where there's multiple models that you can make out of it. Grey Knights as Castellan Crow, is that really shocking? No, finally, a new Grey Knight model. Hopefully we see a new range refresh in 11th edition. That would be cool. Hopefully. Cool ass sword, and I think the lore of the sword is pretty cool, where the sword's actually probably one of the strongest demons in the setting. Basically into a sword, and Crow is like, he's just chilling. The demon's trying to tempt him to use his power, and he doesn't even he just swings the sword as a sword. He doesn't even use the demon power. The demon power is just there. And he's just like, the demon's trying to tempt him like all the time, like, hey, and if it's like it sees a demon like, hey, I really hate this demon, and he's trying to give Crow advice, Crow's just ignoring it. So I think that adds to the model itself too. So it's pretty cool. Adeptus Sororitas, Saint Celestine, and I'm just talking about the one Saint Celestine model, because I think the other two are cool, but you can buy Saint Celestine separately. Best flying character, because I think one of the big problems is you have the tactical rock with a lot of the flying characters in 40k. So it's cool having little notes and scribes all holding her up, whereas she's actually off the ground, and I think that's really cool. Cool sword, don't get me wrong. And I have a big thing that you're gonna know. Helmets are better than faces. If you have a face, you kind of suck. Put a helmet on. Helmets just look better in a 40k setting. Not gonna lie. And I think this is fine. This is fine. She passes. Adeptus Mechanicus, Belisarius Claw, because you can't really, most detailed model I know you can't really see. And to be honest, not as hard to put together as it seems. Painting's awful. And cool little knickknacks. I think Claw's one of my favorite characters in the setting. He's just very interesting. I love the AdMech at design and like models as a whole, but it's a lot, and it's very expensive. It's a very expensive model range to invest in. But now looking at Custodes next, we got Blade Champions. Blade Champions are goated. You can't go wrong with Blade Champions. Cool pose, cool armor, best Adeptus overall. Talking about all the Adeptus factions. And the problem is half the range is Forge World, so hopefully we get updated in plastics. So that's the big thing. Miltarum, Lord Marshal Dyer, kind of goated. I'm not a big Krieg guy, and I think that's kind of the common consensus from a lot of people, like, as time goes on. Krieg kind of overrated, and it's overused, I think, in this setting. But this is dope. This is still dope. Cool-ass horse. You can't go wrong with the horse. Good terrain. I like having the background, with the horse on the mount and just the barbed wire. It kind of puts it in a space where it's not just a model, where there's some kind of storytelling there. And I always think that's important with a model. It elevates models, don't get me wrong. Like this one. Imperial Agents. As much as Imperial Agents suck and they shouldn't be a faction, this Skullmask goes crazy. Eversor Assassin, pretty dope guy. And Skullmask, I just like the pose. I like it's dynamic, it's telling a story. And I think that's a big thing that a lot of regular base models should have a little bit of. Not like, I don't know, Necron Warriors, but some like Necron Lords, they should have some kind of pose. And I like what they're coming out, what was just revealed at the Warhammer show. That was cool. The new Necron, he's going to be cool. I'm really excited to see the data sheet, all that. And just cool weapon overall. And the problem with Imperial Agents is there's not much going on with them. They're kind of... not going to lie. Imperial Knights. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I am not the biggest fan of Knights. I think Knights are stupid. Knight Lancer. Lance goes crazy. I like just the idea of just charging up and just bam. Hollow Shield is also goated. I've seen some cool designs where they put like sheet of paper and they make it into the shield, which I think is dope. Or like they print out 3D printed stuff. I think it's cool. And I really like the round design, because I feel like the big problem with Imperial Knights is they're very similar in design, like build. So I like kind of this kind of different design where it's kind of like hunched over. It looks cool. It's something different. And alright, now we're hopping into Chaos. We got Chaos Daemons. Be'lakor, is that really a question? Best Chaos model as a whole. And that goes into the base as itself, where you can switch it out either in AOS or 40k. I think it's just very cool overall. Cool ass sword. and the big wings. I think it's dope. I love having the skulls on big wings, and he's probably the most powerful character in the setting, and he's doing God knows what, and the Raven Guard are pissed. So, Chaos Knights. This is the opposite. I like carnivores. I think carnivores are cool. I love the dog skull. I think that's the coolest thing. I love the big dog skull. I don't know where they got the skull. I think it's just dope. I think it's a silly thing to think about. Where'd they get the big old dog skull? Nice weapons. I like the big chain sword. And I like the claws for both the feet. It adds to this kind of primal feel, and I think having the skull there too also adds to that. So it's just a very good model overall. Chaos Marines, Vashtor. I love Vashtor. Coolest demon, I think. Well, yes, it's not the best model, but it's the coolest demon, I think. Or coolest, he would be a kind of arch-god. He's a demigod in the setting. Love the mechanical stuff in nature, and you'll see later on, I love, like, the chaos nature. If it didn't have gold trim, I would go in the army. I know gold trim is awful, and I want to practice a little bit before getting into it. And I like the wings. It's just a cool model and has a cool pose, and mechanical stuff is always, oh my gosh, it rubs me the right way. And Big Hammer, you can't go wrong with Big Hammer. Big Hammer is very silly goofy. Death Guard, Mortarion, is this really a question? Probably the best Primarch model. The wings look great. I think that's the most eye-catching thing, are the wings. And this is also a very good flying model as well, where you have the kind of just pestilence, yeah, coming off of him and just holding him up. I think it's cool. It's and of course you got the little flag eyes. Those are really silly goofy. But overall, just a very good model when it comes to the Death Guard. It very encapsulates the Death Guard and just Mortarion as character as a whole. Emperor's Children, new one, Lord Exultant. Nice little back bling. I love the back bling back here. It's very silly goofy. And I'm always a sucker for sword spears. I think having different weapons within 40k instead of like the power sword, they're always cool. And I think having this little sword spear, it's nice. It's a very different thing, and I think that's cool. And I love purple. Purple is my favorite color, and I will die on that hill. So, but I'm not an Emperor's Children's fan. I don't like the design of Emperor's Children, or like the idea of Emperor's Children. So it's never something I'm gonna do. Thousand Suns, Lord Sorcerer, Lord and Terminator Armor. Don't mind that spelling. Coolest Chaos Space Marine model in general. Just aura, straight aura like that. Look at him. Look at the helmet. Helmet is dope. Staff is dope as well. And it's just good aura. I think, like, if you could probably put some cool design for him to make or kit bash him into like a regular just Imperial. I think that a part of the Imperium, that would be really cool. But it's just so cool. This is just a very, very good model and well-made model. World Eaters, Lord Evocus. Helmets for life. I love helmets, and this is another cool ass helmet. I like the Mechanical Beast. As talking with Vashtor, the mechanical in nature is always my favorite, and you'll see my favorite model at the end. I saved it the best for last, and I think everybody knows what the best model in 40k is, to be honest. Best armor design for World Eaters, not gonna lie. I think the World Eaters is probably the worst for the trim. The red and gold is just it's not the best looking. I like the black and gold. The black and gold adds very much, but the red and gold is kind of a lot. So having that kind of difference is always nice. Now we're on the Eldari. Death Jester. I love Harley Quinns. Harley Quinns are such cool characters, and we need more Harley Quinns. Nice cape and mask, you know, sucker for mask, helmet, skull mask, anything. I like the little jester idea. It reminds me of Rosado from Death Note, or not Death, JoJo's, sorry. Not just the basic pose. He's crouching on a little thing, and it's cool. And you'll see in the next character, how it's kind of very similar too. And next character, Drukhari, we have Dazar, or Drazzer, sorry, where you had the very similar base as well, and I think that's cool. Love the soul gems. Soul gems are just so cool, and this is probably, if I had to start Drukhari, this would probably be my second faction I would do. I think Drukhari very, very cool, and the base is also good as well. Helmet gang for life, and that's a dope ass helmet. Genestealer Colts, the Color Morph. Not one, not two, but 3 guns. Very silly goofy. He's just a cowboy. Aura. He's just a little cowboy dude, and I love all the guns. It's very silly goofy. But overall, the only thing I would improve is give him like a better base. But the problem with Genestealer Colts is you can't really make any like symbol persons like leader, because I think that kind of gets rid of the Genestealer Colt idea where it's not just one faction. I don't know. That's how I feel. I wish Genestealer Colts didn't really have any named any people, like Tyranids. I think that's the big thing. Leagues of Otam. Mere Strategist. Oh, There you go. Acting all evil and devious, plotting with his hands. I think that's so silly. I love the robes. Robes are very dope where it's kind of layered. I think that's very cool. Helmets are better than faces. I know it's kind of a robot, but still, helmets are better than faces, and I will die on that hill. Orcs. Sampa. Big boy. Represents the orcs very well. Just very iconic. When you think of orcs, you probably think of one of this. This is probably one of the big things you think of. Tyranids. Death Leaper. Cool ass cape. Has the extra claws, which I think are very the Tyranid idea, where it kind of shows, because Genestealer cults are part of the Tyranid faction. So I really like how it kind of looks like the High Evolution for the Genestealer cults. But I like the little tentacles. I like all. It's just a very well made model. Stand is also a plus. I love stands. Tau, Farsight. This is really idea. Aura, straight aura. I love the red mech, and the stand is also dope as fuck. And now, for the best model of all time, Sazhan, Shard Dragon of the Void, the best 40k model, a literal god. And it's very good to put together, especially with the light electricity. You'd think it would be on steel, but it's very strong. But yeah, that's it for this time. I will see you next